Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. It's January 16th, 2022, and this is episode 58 of the Workshop Podcast. And it's a beautiful day here in East Central Alberta. We got a snowstorm coming, but we have had just gorgeous, gorgeous weather. Anyway, tonight we've got Dylan Schnazy coming on, the Homestead Dad. He's on to talk about essential tools for homesteading and, just going to chat about homestead life and raising two young boys and a whole bunch of really cool stuff. I'm super excited. We've been chatting a little bit ahead of time and it's going to be a good interview, guys. But real quick before we dive in, I got just a couple of announcements for you. First off, for those of you who are still using Facebook, I recently decided to split my all seasons maintenance page, which was always my what do you want to call it, the handyman business page, but it had kind of morphed into Toolman Tim. Anyway, I did a split. I'm going to keep that as all seasons. And if you want to follow me on Facebook, the easiest way now is facebook.com/toolmantim's workshop. Number two, if you want to be able to support the content I create, quickest way to do it, I haven't mentioned it in a while, is go by toolmantim.shop. You'll see right now I got over 100 products that I recommend that I've used and abused, that kind of stuff. But honestly, if you just start your shopping there and you anything you buy from Amazon going forward will help support the content I create and it won't cost you anything extra. So anyway, thanks guys. Tuesday evening, do not forget, it's going to be the second episode of Fireside Freedom. Got a really cool chat with a bunch of content creators. We're going to talk about getting started prepping. That was my choice of a topic, so you can imagine, right? And last but not least, keep an eye out. Coming this week or early next week, we're going to have the announcement for the second annual Groundhog Day giveaway. I'm a big Bill Murray fan, and why not, support, why not celebrate Groundhog's Day? Anyway, so without further ado, let's bring Dylan on. Hey, sir, how are you?
I'm doing great, Tim. Glad to be on the show.
Yeah, glad to have you, man. It's I'll holler real loud because Wisconsin to Alberta is a long ways away, right? So yeah, tell me a little bit about yourself, Dylan. What was your first job in high school? Where'd you get started? What are you up to? That kind of stuff, man.
Sure. So my name's Dylan Schnazy. I am located in Black Creek, Wisconsin. I guess if you're local, you call it Black Creek, but I catch myself. I'm either Black Creek or Creek, depending on my mood, I guess. I homestead here with my wife, Ashley, and our two kids, Teddy and Vinny. And yeah. And our journey is interesting. I'm sure most homesteaders' journeys are interesting. There's probably quite a few homesteaders out there that lived in the city and then caught some kind of bug for gardening or raising animals that brought them to their journey. So yeah, you mentioned my first job. I guess I was a dishwasher for a restaurant down the road. And then, just kind of going through a list of jobs. Right after Mary's, I worked as a tender for a masonry company.
Cool.
And that's an interesting story. I was working on an Eagle Scout project, and it was making masoned pillars for a sign for a middle school. And someone was walking by and said, "Hey, I'm a mason. I'll go grab my tools. I'll be right back." And so he started helping us, and he said, "Hey, you should reach out to the company I work for. They need some help." So, yeah, like, okay. So that job that summer, like right out of high school, they had me working all these state jobs. And in Wisconsin, you get a prevailing wage for working state jobs. So I was making like $30 an hour right out of high school.
Oh, wow.
Doing like grunt work. I'm like, I'll take it.
Yeah, take it, man. $30 an hour.
Yeah. So I'm a chemistry major from UW Stevens Point. That's where I met my wife, Ashley. And towards the end of college, she took a course on sustainability in agriculture. I may have that course wrong, but she started reading a book called The Omnivore's Dilemma.
Hmm.
We were actually talking about the story earlier today with some friends, and she's like, "Oh, I'm learning a lot of really cool things. We should grow our own food someday." And I kind of wrote it off like I come from a conservative household, so like I don't know. I thought that was, I don't know, kind of hippie or whatever. Like I just wasn't into it. Um, so then a few years down the road, I was working at my next job out of college was for a plastics manufacturer, and I noticed within that industry there's just a lot of waste. Like if a batch went wrong, it all went to the dumpster. I'm like, well, you don't recycle it, or like it just kind of.
Yeah.
I saw the inside of the food system because plastics for food wrap, that is the food system. So I started looking at like aquaponics videos, and that's where I got introduced to Jack Spirko and permaculture. Was on the side of my YouTube recommended videos. I saw one for Jack Spirko talking about permaculture, and so then I go home to Ash, we got to start growing some of our own food. Wouldn't that be great? And she said, I've been talking about this. You don't listen. It's not, that wasn't your idea. That was my idea.
Yeah.
And so our friends that were over, they kind of experienced the same thing. So that's kind of how we got to this point in our homesteading journey.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, and your wife was on TSP earlier last summer. I know we were chatting a little earlier, but I remember when she come on, and I think she was talking about birth freedom, something like that, and I kind of rolled my eyes. I'm like, oh my god, I do not want to listen to that. But I had nothing else to listen to that night, and I was out mowing, and I'm like, well, anyway, yeah. So talk about your wife a little bit, because I was amazed at what she had to, what she had to say for sure.
Yeah. So my wife went to school for dietetics, and shortly, so she had a few jobs. After college, she had her internship, which was a rotation of really jobs from hospital to hospital and educational settings, schools, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And she found herself unhappy with the medical system, because she was telling 80-year-olds that just had a heart attack, like, oh, you should try to eat less fat, eat less salt. And like,
Yep.
I mean, that isn't rewarding. And so in the journey of us having kids, we found that, as we raised our kids, there was a lack of a village mentality around having kids. We didn't really find our village until like 6 months after we had our eldest. And so that really propelled her into to being a doula. And for those who don't know what a doula is, they tag along with a midwife, where the midwife is the medical support for childbirth. The doula is there for the mom. She's there for emotional support and physical support during that process.
Well, that's cool. See, now I learned. I mean, I knew, but I didn't know. So that's cool. And I bet you there's somebody else out there who didn't know the difference. But
Yeah, and that's what we're kind of striving for, is that village mentality. Back, just 150 years ago, people, knew their neighbors. People helped raise each other's kids up. That's kind of what we're going after, is to, just have each other's backs. And the more people that you have in your village and that have had children, they can tell you the things that are normal and the things that aren't normal.
Yep.
And just give you helpful tricks, or like you had a bad day. Yeah, we'll support you in that. Parenting's hard, and you had a hard day and that sucks. Just to bounce that off of someone in the village is great.
It's cool. Yeah. Well, my wife and I, we've had 5, and my she has a daycare now. She's really good at seeing like, oh, there's something that's okay, or no, that's not okay. Something needs to be done, So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's neat. It's nice to supportive wife goes a long ways, eh?
Yes. In fact, this is like my mobile studio right now. Right before we put our kids to bed, she helped me set this up.
Isn't that sweet?
This is her creative touch.
You got to love it, right? So that's cool. So we got you coming on. You got, I always, I got to ask you one other question before we dig into some of our other ones we had, but
yeah,
I was flipping through your Instagram, and you got a really cool rocket stove. And
yeah.
Tell me about that, because maybe I'm simple or dumb. I hadn't seen one like that, or just anyway, I haven't really started researching. The thing looks friggin' awesome. So what is that?
Yeah. Okay. So, I guess I came up, or not, I didn't come up with the idea. I was listening to, like I mentioned, since 2015, I've been listening to the Survival Podcast, and I'm sure that's where I heard of like rocket mass heaters and stuff. And like, how do I get one of those on a smaller scale?
Yeah.
And so the one that I have is, I think it's like Silver Fox. I can get you the link to put in the show notes.
Sure.
But so in 2015, started listening to the Survival Podcast. I got to get more prepared. So like 2 of the things that I bought that were high dollar things right away were a Big Buddy heater and a rocket stove. Yep. Those 2 things sat in their box for 3 years untouched. Just, I guess I didn't have time for it, or 2017 is when we had our first son. So to get to tell my wife, hey, I want to go out and cook green beans on the rocket stove. Are you cool with that? That probably wasn't going to fly, nursing a 1-year-old, but I brought it with me. Here it is.
Oh, no way. This was unplanned, guys, just for the record. So
yeah. So it has a rocket mass heater element to it, meaning that you put the sticks in here.
That's cool.
Yeah. So you put which way do I? Okay.
Yeah,
so you put.
I know it's backwards.
And then so it's slotted. This part of it is slotted here, so the airflow comes in under the sticks. You put you light some lint and put the sticks, back in there with the lint, and then the air comes in from the side and burns upward, so the flame shoots straight up. The top of this is cast iron.
It looked heavy.
Yeah. So then it's stable enough for cooking pork chops with a cast iron, and we got a lot of use out of this in 2020. I was home from work, had all this time. I'm like, let's break out the rocket heater. Let's like in preparedness, you want to use the tools that you have, so that when you need them, it's not a surprise.
Yeah. The worst thing, it's better to learn not under stress, eh?
Exactly. So we use this a lot in 2020. I've made bacon, tea. We would have our family over like every Sunday in 2020. Make breakfast for everybody on it. So I mean, in that vein, it's a preparedness tool, but we were using it in good times.
Yes.
So we have a lot of memories on the rocket stove. Like, kids go get a bunch of sticks. The sticks just have to be like the size of your finger. My youngest was like, here's a stick. trying to put it in, and like they have all those memories, so that if we ever needed to use this, let's say if the power went out, they have good memories associated with it, and so then they're going to be happy to use the rocket stove.
The thing, and if you guys haven't seen it, it's incredible. Like you had just a few little twigs in there, and you had a great big pan, a cast iron frying pan full of looked like damn near a dozen eggs cooking in it.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
That's awesome. I don't know, efficiency, right? That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so you guys like I seen you guys moved recently. Talk about how you get into the kind of the homesteading lifestyle, and if you want to talk a little bit about the challenges being a prepper and moving too. Anytime anybody ever has a move, I love hearing about it. So
yeah. So we've been wanting to make this transition to a homestead for a while, and I mean just knowing like the market right now, trying to get a place is pretty difficult, especially these really nice country homes. So this one came on the market. My wife sent me the link, and let's jump on this. It's the perfect location. I mean, it was really important for us to stay close to our parents, so that they can watch them grow up. I mean, being 2 hours away, it's possible, but it's so nice having our grandparents or our parents close by, so we can just swing by, drop the kids off if we need to, and work on projects, or if Ash has to get some work done. The move, it wasn't actually as bad as you would think. So when we lived in Appleton, which is the closest town to us, we lived in, I believe it was 600 square feet. So a pretty small house. So it basically was a tiny house on a foundation.
Sure.
I mean, it's a conventional looking house, but it's just really small. You really can't build something like that today because of like minimum square footage and stuff. So when we found that house in Appleton, we're like, yeah, this is a great place to live for a while and save up, and pay off student debt.
Yep.
So the move, I mean, it wasn't as bad as you would think. I mean, just more heavy boxes of food. We had a lot of food boxes packed up. And I do have to admit that most of the food that we packed up was purchased in 2020. So I had been listening to preparedness for a while, but not really living the lifestyle. And I'm actually glad to hear that one of the expert council members on TSP had a similar story of, oh, I'm talking about this, but not living it. So I mean, most of our food storage was purchased in March of 2020.
That's cool, man.
Well, that woke us up to our food system, supply chains, and then further fueled our desire to have a homestead.
Very cool. What do they say? The second best time to plant a tree is today, right?
Yep.
So it's better to get started. Even if you just get started, you're ahead of 95% everybody else,
Yeah, and 2020 was a real growth year for us. With working from home, we had a lot of time to devote to skills. So we learned how to forage. A month into the pandemic, we raced out 4 hours away, got a hutch full of rabbits, and started raising meat rabbits.
Everybody took some chances and did some cool things, eh? I love that.
Yes.
We're going to be able to go back, I think, in 10 years, and we could all just write a little book on the craziness that was 2020, the things we did different and change. I love it. That's cool. It's kind of like, anyway, it's where were you when it happened? Everybody remembers the crazy stuff we did. And,
Yep,
just
yep,
the
yep.
those 2 months, that March, April of 2020, when we really didn't know what the hell was going on, everybody kind of, what do we do? And had to do something.
Yeah, I really like Jack's mentality of like being the pig when there's a little hole in the fence, like go for it.
Hmm.
Do something with that time, that opportunity that's given to you. And we took it.
Awesome. Yeah. I know we ended up getting, the whole family got sick, obviously, last May, June, I forget when it was. So we were all under quarantine for, geez, I think it was like 20 days. So I had to like basically shut my business down, other than, the kids did the mowing for me. And
Right.
we just used the hell out of the time. We built a deck, we, stained the deck. Oh yeah, just, eh, morning till night. You might as well use the time for something, right?
Exactly. Definitely.
So where did the moniker Homestead Dad come from?
Yeah. Okay. So
That's cute. I like it. So, and it's
yeah,
simple. Yeah.
yeah. My wife gets a kick out of this. So yeah, for let's say my family and friends that may be watching, I am a part of a social network called Float. So it's a social media network that's you can post the things that you want to post without seeing the little like flags on the bottom. If you see someone post something on Facebook, it has little like symbols that come under it. Float, you can post what you want, and you don't have to worry about stuff like that. So I first came up with this moniker of Wisco Dill, and I got that from looking at the TSP Discord channel. There was a Tom from Florida, and so I thought, I should do a play on that, so people know where I'm from. And I do admit that it was really cheesy, but when I don't know who said it, but Float's a very early social network, and if you can get established on it early on,
Yep.
you're gonna be set up for people arriving to that network to see who some of the early influencers are. And so I thought, I got to scrap this Wisco Dill thing, and the Homestead Dad. Some of these more generic, catchy handles, those are going to be what people follow. So now people can associate me with, he's someone that I can approach with homesteading questions. And while I may not know all the answers, I have that people can ask.
Man, that's smart. The branding, right?
Exactly.
And some people might, anyway, on social media, and you are absolutely right on Float. Getting in on the ground level it's been great for me too. And I'm telling you, it's just going to explode, and you take a chance, right? Because some social media platforms you try out when they're fresh and they just never take off and nothing happens. But yeah, you're right. I love that. I love hearing that you are cognizant enough to start building a brand early on, because it's gonna drive traffic to you, and it positions you as somebody, like you said, that's approachable and can ask questions. So that's cool, man. Good for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
So you're a tool guy too, I'm guessing.
Yes. So my tools, they're not too elaborate. They're not a sawmill built from scratch, like I think was it Buddy that was talking about on the previous podcast. So it's not that, but I thought I'd bring a few tools on that I use and you might find useful. I mean, they're not too elaborate, but yeah, these are some things that I use on the homestead.
Awesome.
So I'll bring the first one on here. So a little bit of show and tell. So this is a baby carrier. So we'll kind of unfold it here. Yeah, so it's basically a backpack that you put your kids in. And this is amazing because one thing that we have found homesteading with kids is when you want to put attention on a project, that's when the child seeks attention from you.
100%.
So if you can glue your child to your back while you're doing chores or a job, you get that one-on-one attention with them while still getting something done. So I have a few YouTube videos where I'm doing my chores and I have our youngest on my back. And I mean, the youngest, it's easier to do it with the youngest than the oldest, but I can at least get my chores done while still giving them what they need, because there's a reason why they seek that attention. It's because it's normal. The kids, one of their needs is attention from your parents. So this is giving them something they need in return for something that I need.
That's cool. I love it.
So I mean, just a couple of features. It adjusts just like a regular backpack with straps and everything. The brand, I don't know if you can see it. The brand is Tula, Tula. And one important thing about a baby carrier is I think Tula may be the only brand that does this. I'm not sure about other baby carriers, but if you see someone carrying their baby or toddler on their front and the baby is facing away from them, so let's say you're in an airport and someone has their baby and you can see both the parent's head and the baby's face. They're both facing the same way. That's the incorrect way to use one of these tools. It puts undue stress on the baby's hips. It has to be one of these where if you're wearing the carrier like this, the baby has to be facing towards you, because this part of it, where this part straps to your hips and this part comes up on your body, that has to be supporting the child's legs. Otherwise, they're gonna develop hip issues later on in life.
Well, that's cool. When my twins were babies, I used to have to carry one around if I wanted to get chores done around the house, because they, again, like you said, as soon as you start, it's almost like, oh, okay, well, I don't have it. I need my dad's attention,
Definitely.
Real quick, I'm just going to bring up a couple before we'll see where everybody else goes with this. But when we first started, I asked, what are your 3 top essential homestead tools? And some of the guys in the community here, Hunter, if he's still on, he said a hatchet, a welder, and a drill. So I thought that was kind of cool. What do you think? You chime in on any of these, and you don't have to give away your list yet, but I just thought we'd touch on a few of them for sure.
It's interesting. The welder, when we moved into the barn or moved into the house here, we had a neighbor. Okay, so quick story. We're located on 40. I mean, our homestead is 5 acres, but this lot is 40 acres. Okay. So the people that lived in our house originally, they sold 10 of the acres off, and they live in the back 30 in a house back here.
Oh, wow.
And then the people that lived in this house just before us, so the people that sold this house to us, they live next door to us on 5 acres.
Okay.
So they split their 10-acre plot into 5 and 5. And so our back neighbor asked, I left a welding table in the barn there. If it's still there, I'd do some barter to get that back from you. But when we moved in, welding table was gone. Oh. I mean, it was the neighbors, but it's just interesting how those little stories come up in the country.
That's cool. Yeah, and it's self-sufficient, But
right.
And Chris says axe for sure, shovel, and some kind of drill.
Yes, my wife is whenever she's doing projects, she always has a drill on her. And I mean, that's one of the things on the homestead is you got to have your tools centrally located. Otherwise, you're going all over the place trying to look for that tool. So she has a tricked out wagon that has all of her tools in it. So yeah,
I have to post a picture of that. I'd like to see that. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I'll get that on Instagram.
Sure. And before I forget, I don't think I have your YouTube link either. So if you want to send that to me, I'll make sure I get it in the show notes because I think I have everything else. But and Tom, if you guys know Tom from Small Scale Life, they're in snow country right now. And he said snow bear plow on the pickup, chainsaw, and a riding lawnmower. Probably not for this time of year, but it's essential, you know?
Yeah, it's funny, the riding lawnmower, our neighbor across the street has a riding lawnmower, but he put a snowplow attachment on the front of it. And so one
like a snowplow?
A churning. What did I say?
No, I just want to make sure I heard you right. You're good.
Yeah. So he has a snowplow on the front of it. I think it's like it's probably a couple feet longer than a typical snowplow is. But he came and dug us out of after a snowfall, and I mean that's one of the great things about living in the country is I'm not a small engines guy, and so to have him across the street who is a small engine guy, once we start growing some of our own food, to have a connection there, we'll give you some veggies and you help us with like snow removal. Connections like that we've just found to be great out here.
That's cool. Yeah, I've seen snowblowers on ride-on lawn tractors, but does he get pretty good traction? Like, is he able to push through? Obviously, pretty good. Then is he with a ride-on?
Yeah. He had no problem, and I believe the snow that he took care of was pretty wet too.
And Hunter says this is a male version of Tupperware, of course, but the 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah, we have plenty of those here.
Do you have any sources for good free buckets, or do you just go and buy them?
I do have a source. Working for a paper mill supply company. Whenever they do an audit, they'll take 5-gallon buckets into the mill, grab samples of pulp, and our lab tests them. So after an audit, they might have 20 buckets, and so I keep an eye on them, and they're free for the picking.
And I asked Dylan earlier, guys, he doesn't work for Dunder Mifflin. I was kind of disappointed, but so always got to get.
I'm working for the growing part of the paper industry.
Yeah, not the dying part, So.
Yeah.
I just want to say hello to Jaggy Thistle. He's our brother from Scotland. He always tends to find his way on here, even though it's like the wee hours of the morning. So, and he has another free tool, a person to help, family member, determination to succeed, and an attitude to go on, especially when things don't go your way.
Yes. Yeah. I've been reading the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yep.
And I wish this would have been required reading like during high school, because I'm like seeing so many points of, if I would have done that, I could have, had this like character trait, for more time in life. But one of the things that I learned in that book, and one of the things that really stick out is you can be efficient with processes, but you can't be efficient with people. If you want, let's say if you want your son to do something, excuse me, you can't nag on him to do it. You have to find some way. If he's not doing something, it usually means that he needs something from you. And so that's one thing I've been working on, is trying to get to the root of what he needs. And then usually after like 20 minutes, then he'll help me. So I'm being more effective with him instead of trying to, let's say, plow through a project and be efficient.
That's cool. Yeah, I haven't read Covey since university days. He was what do you call it? Required reading where I went to school. So, and not in high school, but university anyway,
Right,
So
right.
that's cool. But yeah, so go ahead. You can start working on your list again. that was cool. But if we get more, I'll just kind of interject as we go along. If you need a drink, go ahead and grab it.
Oh, sure.
But, yeah.
Let's see, yeah.
But it's okay. Yeah. Oh, and Jaggy says, I missed this one too, but a spade, a fork, and a hatchet. So everybody seems to think that a shovel's important. And for me, it's got to be timber proof because I'll break it in half otherwise. And a way to chop wood or cut wood or, the whole works. So it seemed to be a growing pattern there and it makes sense.
Yeah. So this is my next tool. Again, not very complex, but it's an apple corer.
Oh my!
So,
yep.
Yeah. So we have a couple apple trees here on the farm, and we processed quite a few jars of applesauce this year. We've only been here for about 5 months, so to get a pressure canner and put up some applesauce, that was a new skill for us. And what I like about this is it keeps the kids involved on the homestead. So anything I'm doing, I'm trying to involve the kids as much as possible. So how this works is you put it on a table right here. You screw it onto the table, and you crank on this, and it cores the apple, peels the apple, and then when it's done, you pull on this tab here, and then pull the handle and the pops off here. So it's really fun and interactive for the kids because like my youngest, he's not very strong to use this, but he kind of just puts his hand on the handle like jelly. That's what I said. Put your jelly hand on here. And then I grab his hand as tight as I can, and then just start whipping his hand, and peels the apple, and then I think both of them can do it where you pull on the handle, and then the goal is to pop the peel off in a way that you kind of dunk it in the bowl that's next to it.
Okay.
So kind of just pops off and it pings into the bowl. So that's
make a game out of it.
What's that? Yeah, make a game out of it. Exactly. So yeah, that's how I bring a little fun into the homestead and get the kids involved.
Jaggy wants to know if you're going to make cider.
Yeah, that would be great. We have a friend that works at a distillery in Alaska. So I need to learn how to do that. I don't think it's very complex. I just need a big enough carboy and an air seal. So it might be something we try next year.
That'd be cool. That's not the one thing, but one of the things I do miss about living in Nova Scotia was there's a huge, the Annapolis Valley has a lot of apples, and fresh apple cider was available everywhere out there. Oh, so good. I love it. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. Keep me posted on that because it's not difficult. Even just fresh cider, fresh cider, so good. But hard apple cider, there's nothing wrong with that either. I made some just, that the cheap, I forget what he calls it, but Jack has some recipe for just making it out of apple juice or whatever. And I made some a few years ago, and I've actually got 3 bottles sitting up here on the shelf still, but it was good.
Excellent.
Yeah. But yeah, can't go wrong with apple cider. Chris said, "Oh, maybe we'll have to get Chris on to have an episode with us some evening." But he says they make about 50 gallons a year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Chris, where are you from, Chris?
He's a fellow Flatlander of mine.
From
Alberta.
Okay, great, cool.
So, yeah, we've actually met in real life. He had to come through a while back, had to deliver a vehicle, and he stopped in for a 5-minute visit at the workshop, and it was 3 hours. Well, it was 3 hours later, but it was a couple hours later. We chatted until we were so cold in the shop that we had to call it quits. So it was nice.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Quick note on the apple cider. One thing I've heard that you can do. Oh, who is telling? I think it was someone that we met last year. You can get, you put your apples in a wood chipper and it shoots all the pulp into, you put it into a washing machine, an old washing machine.
I've seen it. Yep.
Yeah. And then put it on a spin cycle and it takes all the juice out of the pulp and you can process a lot of apples that way.
Years ago, back when Becky and I were first married and I was working at Home Hardware, I had a guy, I took a I let it dry for a while and I picked the most round piece of maple I could find out of my firewood pile. And he had a lathe and I hired him to just turn it into a drum and drill a hole through the center. And I drove a spindle through it and I put, I don't know, probably 100 or 200 stainless steel screws with their head sticking out about a half an inch. And then I used an old washing machine motor and I built a little hopper and I made an apple mincer, a powered apple mincer. And we did it. It was fun. Yeah. I wish I still had pictures, but that was pre-Facebook days by a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So what else do you have for us? I love this. I didn't know it was going to be show and tell. I thought it was just going to be
tell.
I love the show part. So.
Oh, good. Yeah, I got two more here. So this is a cast iron skillet. I mean, nothing too special. We have the wire chainmail sponge that we use to season it. What I just learned, I typically season this with coconut oil, but so I make really good popcorn on the cast iron, and I in the past I've used coconut oil and a little maple syrup and cinnamon.
Oh my God!
To make like a kettle corn.
Yep.
But I usually make the popcorn for my wife, and oh my gosh, coconut oil, it just messed with her. And we looked it up, and it's something about like if you use the same amount of coconut oil versus butter, for some people, something about the coconut oil, it just doesn't agree with them. And so I've been trying to season it with lard instead of coconut oil for any sensitivities that coconut oil could provide.
Okay.
We just learned about that. Didn't know about it.
No, I didn't either. That's cool.
Yeah. I guess another cool thing about that cast iron is a lot of people have heirloom cast iron pans from relatives. And when we, for a short time, we lived in my Aunt Carla's house. It was available to us after she had passed. And we found this cast iron in the basement. It was pretty rusty. Didn't look like it had been used a while. But over the years, we've seasoned it and cooked a lot with it, and it's working pretty good. And it's just cool to have that heirloom with us.
That's cool. I got to try it now. I've never done popcorn in the cast iron, so I got to steal your recipe, make it for the girls anyway. Yeah,
and even if some of the popcorn that I make, not all of the kernels pop, but something about like frying it in the oil on the cast iron makes the kernels that don't pop crunchy enough that you can eat them. And it adds this really cool texture that you can't get in the microwave.
That's cool. And Chris Dixon says, put paprika on your popcorn. You'll thank me later. I've never heard of that. Have you?
Okay, smoked paprika. That sounds good.
And real quick to jump back to the apples, Jaggy wanted to know if you can use the peels or parts of apple to smoke some pork or other meats.
Ooh, that sounds really good.
It does. I'm not 100% sure, but if anybody else in the chat, we've got 6 people. We had 6 people over on Float as well, which is awesome. That's a new record over there. But if anybody knows, chime in, or on Odyssey. I've got the chat up. I haven't been over to see how many people, but yeah, just let us know, because I think that would be pretty tasty.
Yeah, and what we do with our peels, we have a few ducks, so we just gave them to the ducks, and the peels come out like trying Or the peels come out really long, and so the ducks like start eating it, and then they just keep eating it like a ribbon. It's really cool to see.
They're cute. Yeah, birds are fun. I enjoy them. So what
Yeah,
else
and
do
then
you have? Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, the last tool that I have, I've only started using this recently, and I guess it's not really a tool, but more like a little gadget. But this is called loop earbuds. Uh, and this might sound mean, but if you're a parent, you get it. You put them in your ears to reduce the noise level that kids are making in the background by just a few decibels, where you're not going to go crazy, but that decibels. Yeah, my wife says 18 decibels. So you can still have a conversation with people, but it just cuts that noise a little bit, so you can keep more of your sanity.
And I suppose if you're carrying them around as well, there's times when, little boys have been known to screech and scream or holler at dad, when they're right next to your ear. So that might help too, I suppose.
Yeah. I'll be like at the kitchen table, and Ted will be like a few feet away from me with his back turned. Dad, like, I'm right here.
That's funny. Oh man. Yeah, that's cool. So where do you get those? Are they like an Amazon thing or?
Yeah, probably an Amazon thing.
I got them directly from Loop.
Oh yeah, my wife said she got them directly from Loop.
Okay.
So I'm sure just type in Loop earbuds and those will pop up.
So what what kind of projects are you working on now? Like what kind of stuff are you doing with your boys when you're kind of, putting around the homestead and stuff like that?
Yeah. So I mean, the kids are really helpful for chores. We got chicks when we first moved in here. So my son was all about feeding the chicks. My son lets the ducks out, opens the door. Trying to think of some of the other projects. We just put in an area for the chickens in our barn. So we have an area for the chicks, and then we have an area for our laying hens. And to be honest, most of the like construction type projects my wife does. She just loves working on those kind of projects. So she has a vision of how it should look, and she works hard to get it done and make sure it looks right. So she really does a good job on that. So with me and the kids, I guess we're kind of like grunt labor around here.
Yeah.
We go around and do like, I like Pareto's law. It's that, so like if you're working in sales and you apply Pareto's law, it means that 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your customers. So I like to think of myself as providing 80% of the work on the homestead, meaning I'm doing like feeding the chickens, moving the wood chips, digging the gardens, and my wife picks up the 20% of the detail-oriented, this needs to be done right type things. And so she excels at that. But back when we were at our house in Appleton, I had worked on a compost sifter with the kids. And that's actually the first time I interacted with you. You were doing I think a like photo challenge.
Yes.
It was like hashtag grow your handyman business.
Yep.
So I took some pictures and put that in the hashtag for the picture. Fast forward, it didn't work that well, the compost sifter, but
okay.
yeah, no, yeah, we got the kids involved. I think Ted was like screwing in he was hammering in some screws, and they were just there learning. And yeah, it's amazing what 4-year-olds can do. If you supervise them and give them direction. I mean, our eldest is making eggs and
Isn't that awesome?
helping bake. Yeah, it's really cool.
Jaggy says that duct tape is rather essential on the homestead as well, just in case you missed it. So, and Chris says I have molded earplugs that have small holes in them that you can still hold a conversation. I used them when our boys were small.
Oh yeah. So, yeah, smart people
cool.
catch on to that.
Yeah. And Jaggy says the kids might like a worm farm to get good soil. That we do that here, and I like it's I like systems I can set up and forget about, or just accidentally forget about for a while. But worms are so forgiving. Let's just put it that way.
Definitely, yeah. We had that when we were in the when we lived in apartments, and I definitely have to bring those back. Right across the street, our neighbor has a old bathtub, so I'd like to get my hands on that for a like super worm farm. And then the cool thing about those is they have the drain in them, so you can put a bucket in, collect all the worm juices. Yeah, and then I mean it's probably a better environment. It's more forgiving when it's bigger.
So I don't know if you're like me, but since you're obviously a tool guy and you like kind of cool gadgets and stuff, what do you got on your wish list? I know I didn't warn you about this one, but what would you, either if price wasn't an object, or what are your next 2 or 3 items you'd like to get to make your life a little easier?
Yeah. So my first one, I definitely need to get a headlamp, because a lot of I could get a lot more work done at night, let's say gardening, if I had a headlamp, because I could go out there and plant a few beds of something while the kids are sleeping. They go down relatively early, so I can still get a lot of stuff done. So I mean, that's one thing is you can do that the gardening stuff with the kids, and it might not be the fastest, but you're being effective with your kids. You're teaching them skills, getting that time with them, and then do the stuff that you really need to get done at night. Yeah. So I definitely need a headlamp.
That's cool. And that simple taste. That's nice. I like that. I mean, that they're great and they're awesome, and they double for great emergency preparedness too when you're when the power goes out.
Yeah, definitely. So if when I get a headlamp, it has to be paired with rechargeable batteries. Yep. Because when I when I get done with a battery, I'm like, this has to go somewhere to get recycled, and I have to store this. I have to store this battery that I have to recycle, and then you just collect batteries, and rechargeable is the way to go.
Absolutely. And speaking of batteries, do you use any cordless tools? And if so, why is DeWalt your choice? I mean, which one do you use?
No, we have a lot of DeWalt tools.
See, I knew I liked it for a reason.
Yeah. And it's interesting when our friends that moved to Alaska, they could only bring so much with them, so they left their Makita. Okay. That's the brand. That we've liked that drill too. It seems to do I don't know, jobs that I don't know. It just seems like it has a little more power behind it. But yeah, I mean,
they're driver drills.
Oh, they're driver drills. That's why they're more.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. When I used to sell tools, I might be wrong, but the very first lithium ion drill driver that we had access to in Canada was the Makita. And I was blown away by the power. I couldn't believe it. It was cool. You're like, where does all this power come from in this little tiny thing,
Right. Yeah. So I guess the dream tool setup for me would be a full setup to process chickens.
Talk about that. What do you get your eye on?
Yeah. So I watched a YouTube video of Joel Salatin teaching a processing workshop to, I think it was like Homesteaders of America conference.
Okay.
So he processed a whole chicken in front of the audience, and surprisingly, it was on YouTube. I'm like, they haven't taken this down. Like he was in there and taking apart a full chicken. But he showed the entire setup. Kill cone, rotisserie scalder. So you put the go ahead.
What is a kill cone? Start there, because I bet you there's people.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So the kill cone, it's just a cone shaped steel piece of steel. You put the chicken in upside down with their head coming out of the cone, and so first they're in shock because they're upside down. So then when you go and slit the throat, they don't see it coming because they're in shock.
Yes.
Because they're upside down. Also, the cone kind of hugs them so that they don't feel scared while they're in it. They feel more comfortable up until the last minute.
Sure.
But they're very effective.
Cool.
I think they're the preferred choice. One of the actions that it provides is the chicken is still pumping its heart.
Yep.
A few minutes after the initial cut, so it works to evacuate its own blood just through biology. So that's amazing.
Keeps them, when we used to do chickens, of course, I mean, we always made sure they were hanging upside down, but we would put them on the ground and put them on their backs so their legs would kick, right?
Right.
So this keeps them contained, right? But yeah. So
yeah. Yeah, so you just hold their feet while they're kicking around, and they're more contained.
So what about, I never even heard of a rotisserie scalder. I got to watch this video now, but I've seen pluckers and stuff, but what is, I mean, I know the process of scalding, but what's a rotisserie scalder? That sounds kind of neat.
Yeah. So as Joel explains, one of the issues with just a pot of boiling water is when you dunk the chicken in, the breast meat is getting more time under the water than, let's say, the legs, because every now and then you pull the chicken up to see how it's doing, so that the legs are less exposed to the water than the breast. So this rotisserie scalder, you can put like 4 or 5 birds in at a time, but it has a rotating basket or little arms on it that rotate. And so it takes that chicken and it pushes the entire chicken under the water, comes up, gives it some rest, and then the entire chicken goes back in the water. And so it just rotates like that, so that all of the skin is getting an equal amount of time under the water.
Very cool.
So then it's more effective for plucking.
So then where do you go from there? Plucking will be next, I suppose.
That's right. So then it goes to a plucker. And so for anybody that doesn't know the process, the plucker, it's a rotary drum that has a bunch of rubber fingers that just pull the chickens off with friction. Those are like the 3 main tools that are part of chicken processing. So I'd like.
If you need you can grab a drink if you need to. I know it's the time of year. I have been fighting with something all winter, so yeah, don't worry if you need to grab a drink.
Yeah, this started back in December, mid-December, and we didn't go to a Christmas outing because we didn't want to get sick. We didn't want to catch what was going on around in the public schools, and lo and behold, we got sick. Anyway, so our barn, on one side of it has an area where they probably kept records when it was a dairy farm. So they would do probably like quality control or bottling in the small room. So I'd like to get that converted into a chicken processing room where all this equipment is all located next to each other, with exception of the kill cone. That'll be outside, with a bucket for the blood that drips down. But have it all in the same room, so then it's assembly line in there. Everyone's out of the elements, and just have a great time processing chicken.
So, let's see. Well, let's go right quick. I was just going to mention this. John Palmer mentioned a couple little ago there that plumbing hanger tape has so many uses. I love that. I assume he means like the rolls with the holes in it, the metal, but that stuff you can use it for just about anything. It's great. And we were talking about Makita and DeWalt there, but Chris says put a Makita beside a brushless DeWalt and it's no comparison. And he is right. Absolutely. Everybody knows I'm a DeWalt man, so I got to toot the DeWalt horn, but yeah. And Jaggy had a question about chickens. How long does the process take with a rotator scalder? I was wondering that too.
Yeah. So a chicken in the regular dunk method, it takes about 45 seconds in water that I believe it's 180 degrees is what you want to target. So the scalding process, it may take a little bit longer because it's rotating in and out of the water. But more or less the scalding is more effective. And so it's more than the latter plucking stage is more efficient.
Sure.
Now you don't have to go back to the scalder to make sure you scalded everything correctly, because the rotary scalder will be very effective at that. So then hopefully it's just once in the plucker.
Studio 88424. They're cool. I got to give them a shout out over on Float, but they run I think it's a terrestrial radio station as well, but they're doing Float radio, and they live stream our show here, which is great. But he said that over on Float at Love Bus Liberty Tour has one of those rotary scalders. So if you're looking to get in touch with somebody or learn a little bit about it, they'll let you know for sure.
Excellent. They should get some footage of that if they take that unit to Float Fest. I don't know if they're gonna live process some chickens here and eat them, but that would be awesome. Cool to see. Yeah.
I don't know. We're going to Nicole's workshop in the spring, and we might be able to sneak to Float Fest for a day or two as well. It's not very far, and it's the same weekend, but it extends. So I don't know. We'll see. It'll be tight, but my wife's game for it, so I'm okay with that.
Excellent. Yeah. We would like to hit some festivals up. We're still mulling over if that's a smart move with small children. But that's when we're hoping that Amy Dingman, she had that idea of hosting a festival like in the Midwest. So if that materializes, we'd love to meet people out in Minnesota. That'd be great.
Yes. So for all my fellow Midwestern content creators, if you hear this, I'm sure Tom will hear this and Amy as well. But yeah, I think there's a need for that. I think it'd be great. And the Midwest is only a day's drive for me, so I'm sure I could get down and hang out with you guys. It'd be kind of cool.
Excellent. Yeah, that'd be great.
So where are you heading in the future now? What do you got going on?
Yeah, so this year it on the homestead, you're wondering what to do next. Yep. We wanted to do pigs. We have I'd say about a 1 acre pasture that's like overgrown. So it'd be perfect for pigs to take care of that. But again, going back to effectiveness versus efficiency, it's more effective that we use our time in a different way than learning that new skill. Being here less than a year on a new homestead. So we'll probably tackle that in the future. But in that overgrown pasture area, we know that we're going to put animals there someday. And so to prepare for that, we're going to turn that into a food forest. Yeah, so we're gonna put fodder trees back there that we're getting from Nick Ferguson from the Expert Council on TSP. So we got the package of mulberry, willow, and poplar. So we're gonna scatter those back in that 1 acre plot. Get those fodder trees growing as fast as possible. They're going to feed both our rabbits that we have now, our chickens. I'm sure the ducks will eat it well as well. But looking forward to putting animals back there. And then I kind of have this analysis paralysis of.
It's okay.
Yeah, what do we do with certain parts of the land? We have a nice alley that we could put like a food forest type system, like kind of like Mark Shepard's farm on. But like, do we want to take that on right now? What's our long-term plan with that land? And do trees make a tree system? Does that make sense there? Well, in permaculture, one of the design principles is to first work with your edges. And we know that the edges of our property, you can't put a chicken tractor on an edge. So right. On the edges, we're going to focus on putting plants like raspberries and blackberries. Those are good edge plants. And that's a smart move. Mm-hmm. We know that's a low risk move.
Easy one.
So that's a home run. We do plan on making some Joel Salatin style chicken tractors. Okay. So my wife's going to be all over that. We have the material list. Joel recently wrote a book where he gives all the designs of his all the structures that he has on his property. So we're going to use that book. It has the the instructions, the material list. And so we're going to slap some of those together. We have a great possible workshop area in our barn, lots of space. When we first moved in, on the back of the property, there was a giant pile of sheet metal.
Nice.
Old sheet metal, so we can incorporate that into the chicken tractor design.
Love found stuff like that. That's great.
And then further for this year, we're really going to work hard on growing my wife's business.
Okay.
So we have multiple facets to her business. One is that she's a doula. Mm-hmm. Another is that she's a registered dietitian, so that we can give diet advice, lifestyle, nutrition advice virtually as well. Just connecting with the community nationally, and knowing that people entering parenthood, they have someone that they can come to for support. If you're a new parent, or if you're new to the let's say you've lost trust in the medical system, and you're gonna try a home birth, we can support that.
Cool.
It is important to know that we're all about freedom in the choices that you make. So whether that be a hospital birth or a home birth, and whatever emotions and whatever support you need during those processes, we're here. We're here for you and to give you support.
Cool. Jag, you want to know, do you have any plans for any aquaponics down the road?
So it gets pretty cold here, obviously during the winter.
Yep.
I definitely want to try the crack key hydroponics. That'll be a really cool project. Probably next year. It probably needs a set of attention from our sons. That'll probably come within the next year or two.
Yep.
But definitely have that to look forward to. And then in fact, in our local homeschool community, someone just asked about aquaponics. So I'd like to see if anybody's doing it nearby and learn from them. It'd definitely be possible in a greenhouse.
Oh yes, yeah. I did cracky bins here in my office, and they turned out really well.
Excellent. Oh, what are you growing?
Well, last winter I grew romaine lettuce. I'm
Okay.
thinking about putting it back together this winter because it's so hard to get good lettuce now. It's just awful.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we can only get greens from the store right now, but we have 4 stock tank gardens on our patio, and we got a lot of kale seed and tat soy to Asian green. But my eldest, he's gonna take the lead on growing our greens for us.
Okay.
So he'll go out there, grab a stick, and make a line in the sand or in the soil, and pop those seeds in. And he likes making salads that we can share together. So I'm looking forward to the spring.
That's cool. Well, we've been an hour and 15 already. This is great.
Wow.
So before we wind up right quick, if anybody in the workshop audience here has any questions for Dylan, feel free to throw them up in the comments. And while we're waiting there, why don't you tell us where we can find you, a little bit, your socials, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So we're on Facebook. So our family business is Steady Presence, and it's kind of self-explanatory. We want to be a steady presence in your life when you're going through early parenthood, and support your nutrition journey. If you have questions on that, but Steady Presence, we're on Facebook. We're on Float. I do a YouTube series. I call it Homestead Happenings. So I just put up videos when I can of updates that we have here on the homestead. It's not a fancy edited video, but I like to break past the workbox or toolbox fallacy of doing something even if you don't have all the tools for it. So I'm sure as I create videos, I'll get better. But that's what I'm doing for now. And so if anybody has homesteading questions, feel free to reach out. And I do want to end on this note. So I've been learning a lot about like cryptocurrency, and one of the things that I find interesting is how something like Bitcoin, the way that I understand it is that it mimics other systems that I see in life. Mm-hmm. So for anybody watching that isn't familiar with Bitcoin, it's a network of computers that secures transactions. That's the simplest way that I can describe it. And these computers are known as nodes. Well, that kind of describes a community. A community is a system of nodes, of families, of people, of resources, of knowledge centers coming together for a shared goal. So whether it be with tools or growing your own food or homeschooling, we're all nodes in this system, in this community. So one of my main points to introduce myself to the community here on the show was to say, hey, I'm a node. I'm here. I'm in the system.
Yep.
I'm in the community. If anybody has questions, either locally here in Wisconsin or nationally, as more people get into homesteading, contact me. Let me know if you need help or if you want to come out to the homestead to get hands-on experience. We're here, and we'd love to connect with everybody.
Well, that's awesome. No, thanks, Dylan. This was fun. This was great. You always have an idea of how a conversation's going to go or how, but you never really know. And this was awesome. You brought so much, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it, Tim. And thanks for having me.
No, thank you very much. And if you want to hang on just a second, I'll close up and then I'll be right back with you if you want.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Thanks, man. All right, guys. That was awesome. Like I said, we never ever know what we're in for with an interview. I love talking. I love chatting with people from all over the world. It was great. And Dylan and his wife, they're just incredible people. Really, really cool. And I look forward to we'll have to have him back on the show down the road. But like I loved his analogy of being a node because in our community there are nodes. Yeah, I mean, every individual is a node of something. Even if you don't think you're an expert on something, you're a damn expert on something. And if you don't think you can help somebody, you can help somebody. So remember it. Okay, guys. Anyway, if you want to catch me next Tuesday night, Fireside Freedom, we are going to be talking about getting started in prepping. I've got Amy from A Farmer's Kind of Life, Brian from the Lots Project, and Letty Lou from Liberty All Day. And that will be 6 o'clock Mountain Time. Link will be in the description, but it'll be over on the Fireside Freedom YouTube channel. And next live stream here will be Thursday night. We're going to be doing the latest installment in preparedness. That's going to be talking about home appliances. Going to be kind of fun talking about how to fix them because a lot of people don't realize you can do a lot of that yourself. It'll be great. And that'll be 7 p.m. Thursday night Mountain Time. Same bat time, same bat channel. You know how it is, guys. Anyway, I know you guys you can spend your time anywhere. And I know I say it a lot, but I sure as hell appreciate that you're willing to come in on a Sunday evening and hang out for an hour and a half in the workshop with us. So guys, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.